All right, let's jump right into it. Enter Matrix back with another video. And believe it or not, I'm not on the WORX payroll. I just recently put out a video speaking about the WORX WX242, and it was kind of not a review so much as an overview and a preview because I haven't done any actual work with the device. So I figured I'd start doing a little bit of a follow-up, not incredibly in-depth, but just to give a little bit more nuanced review after using it on a project. Now, quick point. I know this doesn't exactly bode well for the brand or for someone to make a brand video that's positive, talking specifically about another device under the same brand that failed on them. But that's kind of where I'm going here. So I know that we live in a time where more often than not, we're getting things shipped to our houses through Amazon and other shipping companies. And if you're anything like me, you have an accumulation of like boxes that are piling up. My girlfriend tells me all the time, yeah, you need to start working on these boxes. And after a while, between like myriad of tools, either knives or razors or scissors, you know, you start to exhibit an inordinate amount of fatigue when it comes to the chore of having to break these things down. So a few years back, I decided to pick up a pair of like auto shears, right? So WORX, you're gonna hear that a lot. WORX, they made what's called the ZipSnip or the ZipSnip WX081L, I believe that's the name. I'm making particular note to say the names correctly because in my last video, I actually said the WORX 242 and it was the WORX WX242. I ended up correcting it in the title, but you know, there's only so much and I'm not gonna refilm the other video. I think that it pretty much noted all of the points I needed to note. After about 2.5 years of use, I picked the device up and it just wasn't functioning. And this was right after I'd already purchased the screwdriver that I just mentioned. So I was thinking, man, you know, what's this really say to quality? But you know, you got to give people a little bit of grace because at the end of the day, I wasn't picking up a tool that was meant for industrial use. It wasn't meant for like professional application. I just wanted something at home to be able to break some boxes down. So I left it alone, waited, got the screwdriver, and my girlfriend was mentioning, you know, maybe there's an issue with the contact. I was like, I should have thought of that myself, you know. So I opened it up. I was able to use one of the bits that came with the new screwdriver that I've been raving so much about. And yeah, just opened the thing up and there's a two-step mechanism. There's a power button where you have to press down, and there's also a safety where you have to be able to depress. So you have to kind of clutch the device with a little bit of authority to be able to get it running. As you can see, it's running now. The issue that I ended up having was there are two tabs, metal tabs that make contact with the circuit board with this button, and there's another set of double tabs that make contact with the circuit board under this lever. And it seemed because of the pressing force over time with having to go through so much material that it might have been that the thumb action was pressing down a little bit unevenly and those two tabs weren't making contact with the metal contacts that are on the circuit board. So after opening it up quite easily again with the WORX WX242, I was able to determine where the issue was. It wasn't an issue of circuitry, it wasn't an issue of soldering, it wasn't an issue of the battery failing or even the motor or the gearbox failing. All of those things are in perfect tact. The issue really was just after depressing both of those mechanisms down repeatedly over a few years, it had worn down the spring back on like the metal tabs. So I simply just stretched them out a little bit. They were able to make renewed spring contact, and I know going forward I'll just have to be a little wary of that when I'm using it. I did note that this is an older model. This is not the most recent model that they have. The most recent model they have right around is the WORX WX081L. I believe that's been out for at least maybe a year or so. and it looks like they made some improvements to the design so they didn't have that same issue. There might have been people that are making complaints about that. I can't confirm that, but just from my own experience and seeing the design change, I think that that might be the case. The new version has a safety button and just one action. Well, it's two action technically because it's a safety lever, but you don't have to depress them both at the same time with force. You just have to engage the safety, now, unlike like a weapon, and then you press the trigger and then it activates the cutting force of the business end. I looked into almost buying the new one before I was suggested by my girlfriend to just look into it and try to see if I can fix it, which I did successfully. But the drawbacks that I have with the new version are that it uses one of those it's not proprietary because you probably have it with some other tool around, but I like the flexibility of using a USB enabled charger. This one, while it's not USB Type-C, it uses micro USB, and if you've been around and had some gadgets for the last 10 years, you probably have like a micro USB cord hanging around somewhere. So I like the flexibility of knowing that if I don't know where the original charger is, all I have to do is follow the manufacturer's recommendation as far as charging output and just put a brick that will charge it. Or very worst, just connect it to like a low power device like a computer that's not going to be able to fry the thing, and eventually it'll charge. The battery is still in good condition from what I could see from opening it up on the inside. I'm not going to show any of that because I've already fixed it and I'm not going to open the thing back up. But that being said, I'll still hold on to this for a little while because I still have some more boxes to go through. And if it does become a problem again, I'll fix it again and see what other options pop up with the automatic scissors market. When I checked, I didn't really see any big box brands doing this type of thing. I could be wrong. Not at the price point I'm willing to pay, at least. I'm not paying $100 for some automatic scissors. This, I believe, was somewhere around like $30 or $40, and that is kind of like the sweet spot for me. Yeah, so I guess that's it. Bottom line is this little mini update to the WX242 in action. Thing held me down. Oh, so a couple of things I want to point out. The button placement. I really like where the button placement is for this device, because I found myself having to kind of like bear down a little bit in the reverse action, and it's a perfect placement for where your thumb goes. You figure if you're putting force and you're trying to, you see that? And you can just make that action really quickly with your thumb. You're not always going to be screwing things like in this direction. So I like that they put it in a place relatively equidistant, so depending on your hand orientation, that button placement isn't going to be awkward. One of the devices I was looking at was the Bosch, and it seems like they have the button placement very close to the end of the device, and I'm not saying that that's bad. Maybe there's a reason why they designed it that way. And there's another device that seems similar in the button placement, and I would argue that I think that they may be in partnership, but Dremel. Yeah, if you look at the Bosch version and the Dremel version, they seem like they're both kind of in the same orientation, which is kind of interesting. All right, either way, that being said, thank you guys for listening and watching. WORX WX242, solid device from what I've been able to observe so far. Also the ZipSnip, not the most latest version. Yes, there was a mechanical failure that I was able to resolve with a tool of the same brand, so keep that in mind. Thanks again.